Good afternoon, welcome to another video. Right, this time we're comparing the overclocked i5 custom build to the Dell Optiplex i7 4770K. This is the benchmarks if anyone's interested. Carry on watching. I've just got on my screen here the settings so you can see I put it under load there on Cinebench. So you can see it's running at 4.5 gigahertz, voltage 1.424 volts, and obviously it's got the piece. It's on the Asus Maximus 6 Hero, I think it is. Yeah, in Roman numerals, and we've got an uncore frequency or cache frequency or North Bridge as it's also known of 4 gigahertz. And the RAM will be running at 1600 and same primaries as on the Optiplex to make it fair, because obviously on a budget you're not going to be running faster RAM. And the i7's on the stock 4770K settings. Right, so the benches we've got to kick off with, we'll go with PC Mark 10. So I'll bring them both up here so you can see them. So PC Mark 10, this is the 4770K. You can see there it's got a score of 4197, and you can see all the other scores here. The graphics card was actually overclocked on this test, whereas on the i5 it wasn't. I didn't realise that MSI program on the Optiplex had automatically put it in the overclock settings, but it's only going to be slightly more than margin of error. So 4197 for the demo version of PC Mark, and on the i5 you can see it's scored quite a bit more, 4747. So we're talking like 10% more performance there from the i5. So obviously on that particular benchmark, the extra clock speed does actually give you quite a few benefits, even with the graphics card turned down. But what is interesting, if you look at all these numbers here, like for the video editing score, rendering, all that, just basically everything across the board there is actually better than on the i7. That's, I mean, on the video editing score there, what we're looking at, 4467 on the i5 plays 4145. So I mean, we're talking roughly a 10% increase in performance across the board, which I would have thought with the extra threads on the i7, despite it being 800 megahertz slower, I would have thought the i7 would have been better there. What I'd say is I might do a test with DaVinci Resolve, because that's the video editor I use, and just see how that pans out. The next bench, what I used was Superposition, I think. So this is a gaming sort of benchmark, 8K optimized. So yeah, obviously it's going to ramp out your graphics card. This is the 4770K, 2532. So yeah, probably quite a good score for that. Let's have a look what it scored. Don't know why that's not opening. There's always got to be a problem, isn't there? Do it with the Picasso. So 2303. So there, the extra threads on that particular sort of gaming graphics benchmark, the extra threads have obviously helped a little bit. So that's just under 10% in favour of the i7 there. So that's more what you'd expect to see, I would say, in a lot of your games. Potentially if you weren't running with the V-Sync on. What else have we got? Firestrike, another gaming benchmark. So the overclocked i5 there, obviously both got the overclocked graphics card. 14852, so that's saying there that should be able to play Battlefield 5 1440p at 70 plus FPS on the i7. I've put OC. Not a lot of difference there, to be honest. It's saying only 65 plus FPS for Battlefield, but 14438 versus, where was it again? Flipping bits all over the place here. Yeah, I mean, that's not huge, is it? I mean, what would 10%? There's probably less than 5% difference there between the two. And I would say that in real life, the i7 is going to play Battlefield better than what the i5 will, purely just because you got them extra threads. So what I've noticed in the gaming is you get better 0.1% and 1% lows as a rule. There was a War Thunder test I've done on here, 1080, where the i5 was getting higher frame rates, but the actual gaming experience so far has really always been a little bit better on the i7. Maybe on a game like Crossout, I didn't really notice a lot of difference. And on a game like War Thunder, if you're not recording, a lot depends on whether you're recording. If you're doing game capture, regardless of what app you use, you really want the i7 because you need them extra threads. If you're just playing and you're not recording anything, well, yeah, not quite so bad then. Right, we'll have a look at Time Spy. So the i5, 5727 versus the i7 5817. So what are we looking at? Yeah, slightly better on the i7, which probably how them scores are for the majority of the time. That is, if you're playing a game like, say, Fortnite, I would say that's the level of difference you see. It favours the i7 slightly. So that's quite an accurate bench there, I would say, for how it's going to be in real life. Is the user benchmark results. So just quickly run through them. There's a couple of things as well to point out. Ignore this bit here with the memory because I didn't have it running at 2.4 gigahertz. That was just running at 1600 megahertz. And this background CPU bit, I mean, I've had it where it's been reading 80% before and the bench has still come out about the same, and I've checked everything was off. So for some reason there's a few bits on this benchmark what don't come out right. So ignore this and ignore that bit there. That was 2.4 gigahertz RAM capable, some of it, 2 of the sticks were. Anyway, so on the i5, as I had it set up, it come out with a gaming score 67%, desktop 86, workstation 54. The Optiplex with the i7, like I say, ignore this here because I checked it all. The fact that it's barely using any of its RAM proves that it wasn't using loads of things in the background, but that's come out with a lower score across the board. So that ties in with the PC Mark 10 roughly with the differences. But when you sort of go down, the i7, I mean, that's on its standard speeds, 3.7 on all cores, 46 percentile. Hang on, it's doing that. Always does that with this browser. The 4670, 95th percentile, so that's obviously quite a good overclock. 4.5 gigahertz on all cores, so a little bit better there. It's made it so that the graphics card was working slightly more efficient, but there's naff all in it. The drives just depends how much is on them. Memory wise, I'm losing track of which one we're on now. Oh, this mouse pad's terrible. So on the 4670. So memory wise, you can see I've got roughly 20 to 21 gigabytes sort of throughput there. But that'll be to do with the memory controller being at 4 gigahertz as well, whereas the one on the i7 will only be at 3.5. I think it matches the base clock. But yeah, you got similar memory throughput there. So yeah, I just thought I'd quickly throw that one in. There's a benchmark called Unigine Heaven, which is the one I use to test if there's any bottlenecks. I think on one of my other tests when I was trying the i7 to see if there was bottlenecks, I used this to do it, and it turns out I had clocked it fairly well. Let's have a look. GTX. Right. So there you go. I mean, my top score on Unigine Heaven, 4903, which is significantly higher than I got with the i7, because I think I was on, well, I'll say 10% higher. Yeah, I got 4578. So I think what was happening there wasn't the fact that the i5's running a PCIe Gen 3. I think it's that benchmark uses just 4 threads. I don't think it takes advantage at all of the extra threads. Obviously, I'm not doing any recording or anything either at the same time. So if you're playing older games, because that's quite an old benchmark, I would say that the i5 is probably going to run away from the i7. So like back in 2013 when these were current CPUs, in 2014, really it would have been better to have had an overclocked i5 than it would to be to run a stock clocked i7. But as I say, now in this age of video capture and streaming, the goalposts have moved. So I would say that despite what the numbers are saying here, overall you're still better off with that i7. And I think in terms of the two systems, if you're making a purchasing decision, they both cost you about the same to build, around between £300 and £350. I think it all comes down to, if you just want to buy a system, build it, use it until it's just out of date and upgrade and chuck that one away and carry over your graphics card and whatever you can, then the Optiplex is definitely the better system. If on the other hand you like building your systems up bit by bit and you just want to have something for that sort of price to get you started, I would go with the i5, and then later on you could drop yourself in an i7, £55 they are from CEX for that 4770K. You're easily going to be able to overclock that to 4.2 gigahertz on all cores, which is faster than any stock Haswell on the mainstream platform, and that's probably going to give you quite a bit more longevity then in the long run. Also, because that custom board has got PCIe 3, which a lot of the Dells have, to be fair, you are going to be able to run newer graphics cards. An overclocked i7 isn't going to bottleneck as easily something like an RTX 3060 or 3070, or was it 2060, 2070? I don't know, but you're going to be able to do a lot more with it, that's for sure. So just depends what you're looking to do. But as the two machines stand as they are, given the choice of which one would I have for myself, I would take the i7. But as somebody that likes to play around overclocking, testing, upgrading, then for me it's the custom one all day long. So anyone who's thinking about upgrading a rig that's just no good for anything anymore, or just getting into PC gaming from scratch, hopefully this video might just give you some ideas. I've got an R9 390 graphics card as well to drop in the Optiplex and revisit the £250 build. So for that budget, I'll be able to keep the i7 and the 16 gigabytes of RAM rather than the original build, which only had 8 and a basic i5. So yeah, hopefully this video will help someone out there, and yeah, see you on the next one. Thank you.